But at this point of time, let's bring on board a mid-cap company, PTC Financial. The RBI, remember, is considering a differentiated bank license. And for infra lending, the RBI is considering wholesale long-term finance banks. To break this down for us and to be able to understand this concept a bit more, let's bring on board the management of PTC Financial, Mr. Ashok Haldia, the MD and CEO of the company, now joins us on the show. Hi, Mr. Haldia. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Hot Stocks. Now, as per the proposal, the bank's objective is to provide long-term finance for infra as well as core sector loans. Will lending to SMEs as well as forex trade finance be beneficial to diversify lending mix?
In fact, I have not been able to hear you properly, but the concept that this paper tries to bring out is much lauded one. In fact, that's a long felt need for the long term and the infrastructure financing. We have been, as of now, the banks are doing the retail financing as well as the long term and to the small and medium sized businesses and the corporate businesses, and also for the infrastructure financing. The concept of infrastructure financing in terms of the skill and the expertise that you need for appraisal or for credit monitoring or for risk assessment, analysis and mitigations is altogether different than what you need for other kind of lending, retail, and so also for the long-term financing. And we have been for a long pleading before the government and the regulators that the infrastructure financing, there should be a separate institutional structure for the infrastructure financing. And that's how some years ago the concept of infrastructure financing as a subset of the non-banking financing company was evolved. The discussion paper extends that scope further in terms of that this paper provides for or would enable these banks to raise the deposits, so they can raise the large amount deposits up to 10 crore in a way that would also mean that these infrastructure financing banks, proposed one, would also be able to fund their funding through raising large amount deposits, and in a way that would also minimize the assets liability mismatch. Now, this specialized institution being in place, this would also take the burden of the financing the infrastructure projects and also assets liability mismatch issues with the conventional banks. Also, this would provide an additional source of funding for the infrastructure, small and the medium-sized businesses.
So, with these wholesale long-term finance banks, what would be the need in terms of maintaining key ratios? I'm given to understand that they would have to maintain CRR, but exemptions on SLR, PSL, rural banking targets are being proposed. Your view on what would be the impact of this on margins and return ratios?
I don't think the margin and the spreads and the returns would vary to a significant extent, because concept remains the same as in the case of infrastructure financing. The additional features which are akin to the banks in terms of the CRR and others, and also enabling them to raise the deposits. So in a way, and also they would reduce the CRR requirement for such banks. So I feel on the whole, this would not impact the spreads and the margins available as of now, for example, to us as infrastructure finance companies.
But the RBI has also proposed an initial capital of 1,000 crores. This is, of course, higher than universal bank license proposal of 500 crores initial capital. Your view on the quantum of capital proposed, and would that be enough? As an infra NBFC, would you be keen to apply?
See, the 1,000 crores requirement is logical, because ultimately infrastructure financing is a capital intensive and you need a large amount of funding. So therefore the 1,000 crore requirement is quite logical. As far as we are concerned, it's too early stage. These are the concept paper has come out. This we will look into, and then the guidelines would come out. It would be too early for us to comment anything on what we would be doing or what we would like to do once these guidelines are in place. But certainly the concept of infrastructure banks as this concert papers tries to bring out is laudable, and I think that's a long felt need for the infrastructure financing.
Okay, fair enough. I just want to move a little away and talk about business in general. The entire renewables financing space is buzzing. What are the developments on the ground, and within the space, where do you see maximum demand and factors that are influencing this demand?
Firstly is that the investors' interest in the renewables, and I would say both the solar and the wind, continues to remain. And we see in terms of the pipelines that is available with us. In terms of the states, I believe after the UDAY, the payment track record of the different DISCOMs has improved, and that has also given some flip to the growth of the renewable businesses in various states. Now, which states are more prominent and which states are progressing fast, it depends upon the states to states. There are states which have come out with the solar parks. There are states which have come out with the special incentives, the policies, and they are dynamic and progressive. And they have also been very careful or very caring in terms of payment of dues to the wind and the solar power projects. So there has been more growth. But it's all it's all from time to time. The different states would appear to be the front leader in terms of the growth of the renewables.
Right. So we really appreciate you joining us with that perspective, Mr. Haldia. Appreciate your time as always, and good luck with your business.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, time now for a very short break, but tell you what, when we come back, Mubina and I will be touching base with the management of Newland Labs. Their Form 483 for Hyderabad unit has, I think, got to 2 observations. So we'll discuss with them what they're doing to